Hey everyone, Tankenstein here. In this video, I'll be doing a very brief overview and my first impressions of the Object 248. This is the new top reward for Battle Pass. If I'm not mistaken, it's field testing. I believe that's the Battle Pass name, but either way, this is it's basically an IS-2, not the 1944, but the regular, with a 100mm cannon instead of a 122mm cannon, which actually increases armor pen, and it really substantially improves reload. But of course, you are getting a smaller caliber, which means that you are not going to have as much explosive filler. That said, let's go see what it does to this Panzer II. Of course, it just totally annihilates it with no problem. But look at that reload rate. Typically, when you're in a vehicle, it's looking like this. You expect the reload rate to be much slower, but honestly, it's pretty good. So this is a 6.7 BR vehicle, rank 4.0. Let's see. The trajectory on this thing is fantastic as well. You have, what is that, 895 meters per second. Not the fastest, but if I'm not mistaken, it is a bit faster than the 122mm cannon. Now, you do, of course, have your gun depression issues, and I'll go over the stat card in just a moment, but it's not all too bad. So pretty much, this is the same BR as the 1944 edition. The 1944 still has the 122mm cannon, but it does not have, and it does have improved armor, whereas this has a much, in my opinion, better cannon due to the reload and slightly better ballistics, but the lesser armor on the early version of the IS-2. Now, one additional thing that this has that any other IS-2 does not have is a smoke shell. So I'm just going to launch this at that Panther over there. I don't think I'm going to hit because my aiming can be pretty rough sometimes. I actually hit. Okay, let's consider that a hit. So this has a smoke shell. It's a pretty standard smoke shell, about 25 seconds of smoke, but it's very nice. Again, this is not something that you see all the time, and it has a surprisingly fast muzzle velocity of almost 900 meters per second. Finally, we do have the typical HE shell. This is not going to be as effective as the other HE shell that you might find in the 122mm, just because, of course, when it comes to a larger caliber gun, a larger size of gun, you will typically have much more explosive filler than this. So this is 1.46. I'll check what the 122 is in when we get back. But as you can see, at least when it comes to destroying like a Panzer III, Panzer IV early variants, it does still get the job done. And will typically get the job done so long as you hit somewhere where it can just kind of blow the crap out of them. Anyways, let's get into the stat card and kind of show you what this is all about. But honestly, and I'll say this to you guys right now, I might have to eat crow. You know, I was a little disappointed with this vehicle, but from what I've seen of it, it's pretty impressive. And it has ballistics that 7.7 BR vehicles have for, or 7.3 BR vehicles have for their cannon, so not all too bad. But let's get into that stat card and see what this thing's all about. So as mentioned before, and is heavily advertised by Gaijin as they've made it, the defining feature of the Object 248 is, of course, its 100mm S34 cannon. And this cannon can more or less be found in somewhat different variants across a lot of the 7.0-ish BR line. So, of course, this is, for example, the T44-100. This is not the same cannon. It's not the S34, but it does carry the same shell. So you can get the BR-412B. You see that in the T54s. It's pretty darn similar, even up through the T55, as a fairly similar cannon that you can use with, of course, not the exact same ammunition, but more or less like a sub-variant of it, or an evolution of it. But that being said, getting back to the Object 248, this is pretty much the same vehicle as the standard IS-2. It does have slightly more LMG ammo, coaxial LMG ammo, around 400, 450 more shells, and it does have a slightly different armor profile. As you can see here, the turret armor at the front is 100. You have 100 all around, whereas in the regular IS-2, you're looking at around, rather the whole armor, I mean, say, is around 100 here. but in the Object 248, you have around 100. So it is slightly less. I'm not really sure how they mean that, because this looks like, give or take, around 120 millimeters of armor. But hey, this of course has a slightly different armor profile, but it is what it is. Additionally, this is about 5 or a half ton heavier than the regular IS-2, but the greatest thing about this is that even though it has a slightly lesser vertical guidance compared to a standard IS-2 with the same negative guidance but 2 degrees less of upwards guidance, it has a much better reload rate, with this being able to get down to 8.5 seconds with a fully aced crew. Even with an unaced crew, totally untrained, you still have 11.1 seconds, which is far superior to what the IS-2 can offer with, let me go ahead and see, 20.8 seconds at best. So even standard, you have about 2 times the reload rate of the IS-2, which is absolutely fantastic. Now, when it comes to the shells itself, you have the BR-471B, of course, with the IS-2, the Object 248 rather. You have the BR-472B. And one thing to note is that while on a 0-degree angle, your armor pen is going to be worse with the 122mm cannon, this actually carries around 10 to 15 millimeters more of armor pen throughout most angles and ranges compared to the Object 248. So if you could see here, let me get to the modifications. This is only about 163 millimeters of armor pen at a 30-degree angle and 10 meters, whereas in the IS-2 with the 122mm cannon with a similar BR-411 shell, you're looking at around 10 to 15 millimeters more of armor pen, and again, that goes throughout the range. It's fairly similar with the HE shell, but this has 1.46 kilograms of explosive force, whereas the standard IS-2 shell, and don't make fun of me, please, for my lack of modifications, I really don't like this tank, but this has 3.6. So you're looking at around 40% of the explosive filler in the HE shell, which makes it substantially less effective. But on the other hand, you do get a much better muzzle velocity from this, around 100 millimeters, or 100 meters rather, faster per second, which is really nice. And it also has a smoke shell, which is not something that the standard IS-2 has. So this is going to be a vehicle of trade-offs. So of course, this is 0.6 BR higher than the standard IS-2. Unfortunately, it does not have the improved armor that you'd find in the 6.3 BR IS-2 1944. Time will tell if BR changes with this. Of course, I will have gameplay once it comes out to see just how good this vehicle is. Of course, again, this is using a cannon that is used by vehicles up to around a full BR higher than this. So even though it does have slightly lesser ballistics at a range or at angles compared to the 122mm cannon, obviously it's still very functional, and that reload rate is excellent. So that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. There is a lot to go over with this vehicle. Of course, this is a very interesting addition, being that this is the top level BR reward for this battle pass. And interestingly, and I was actually just looking at it, I've got the T10A, which was one of the first rewards for a battle pass. I think this was the first reward for battle pass. That was 7.7 rank 5. So we are getting a substantially lesser BR and rank vehicle reward, and we only get 3 vehicles in this battle pass. But hey, you know what? I mean, battle pass is still technically a pretty good deal, so I guess there's that. But either way, again, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Do you guys like this vehicle? What are you seeing about it? Is it something that you think is better than you were initially planning, or worse than you initially thought? Let me know. Either way, thanks so much again, and I will see you all on the other side. Take care, everyone.